All right. Well, it's 11:01, so let's get started. I have quite a bit of material to try to get through. Hopefully, I can do it all in a half hour. Welcome to Pillar Briefing. Um, I'm Reyna Monson, and I am president and co-owner of Pantheon Computers. Almost all of you are clients, so I know that you're familiar with Pantheon, so I won't bore you. The magazine. So hopefully, a lot of you have seen our new magazine. It looks like the one up in the upper right-hand corner. This magazine was about AI. If you haven't seen it, one was delivered to your company. So ask around, and you should be able to find that. We can also send it out as a PDF if you are interested and can't find it. And then this is our first webinar. Our intention is with each quarterly magazine to do 3 webinars with the same theme to hopefully help with some practical intelligence for the modern business. That's our tagline. So I'm going to get started. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, or you can use your little raise hand thingy in Teams. And Kelsey will interrupt me and tell me that someone would like to ask a question. So, Kelsey, could you help Vicki? Thank you. All right, so let's get started. I have no idea where you guys are at with AI. Maybe we have some experts in the room. Maybe we have somebody who's never even used AI. So this first session is a little bit of an overview and some tips and tricks for using AI. And then I'll let you know what the next 2 are going to be about at the end. All right, so what is AI? AI is just a catchphrase for a lot of different things. First of all, people call automation AI, right? So if you set something up so that every time I do this, the system will do that because I programmed it to do it. That's not artificial intelligence, that's automation, but people call it AI. Machine learning. So machine learning will take a look at data and find patterns. Again, not artificial intelligence. It's just looking through the data you have, finding patterns, and then pointing those out to you. Most of us are using generative AI. Generative AI is the thing that will create new content, right? So that's the thing that you use to help you write an email or turn something into a PowerPoint presentation. So that is what most of us are using. Generative AI as well is not actually intelligent. It is using what they call a large language model, where it's just been fed so much language, so much data, that it can sort of determine what you're looking for based on word patterns, things like that. And then finally, we have autonomous AI. There's very little autonomous AI out there. This is actual artificial intelligence where it can decide for itself what it's going to do next and then act on that based on whatever goal you gave it. One of the only common AIs that are out there right now is actually the Roomba. Right? You tell the Roomba, hey, I want a clean carpet. And it makes its own decisions about when it's going to turn, where it's going to go, when it's done. And so it is actually completely autonomous. But there's not actually a lot of true autonomous AI out there yet, but there's a lot coming. So then the question is, well, what AI platform am I going to use? There's a million of them, right? How do I know which is the right one to use? And so that is a little bit what this slide is for. There are only so many that I'm going to recommend to you that you do use because some of them are very dangerous. But these are ones that you can absolutely trust. So we've got Microsoft Copilot. Truly have Microsoft Copilot, you have to have a Copilot license. I know Microsoft kind of sneaks some things in here or there that it calls Copilot, but to truly have the full power of Copilot, you need a license. And the advantage to that is that it can see everything inside of your Microsoft environment, right? So I know I have an advisor who sometimes ends up with information about a client in documents and some in Teams messages and some in transcripts of meetings. And so he can ask his Copilot, hey, what is this company's plan for AI? And it can search the entire Microsoft environment and give him an answer. So if you use the Microsoft environment heavily, that's a great one for you. ChatGPT is the one everybody knows, right? If you say AI, that's the one that everybody's aware of. ChatGPT is great at business planning, doing research. It has a very strong reasoning skills. Like any of the AIs out there, it does hallucinate, which means that it believes things are true that are not true because it's not actually intelligent, right? So if it finds something, a piece of information that is absolutely ridiculous, like you get chicken pox from holding chickens, it will believe it because it's not smart enough to say, no, that's not true. So you do have to be really careful with AI when you're using one that especially has information to public data to make sure that whatever answer you're getting is real and not a hallucination. Claude is a great one. Claude is a little bit better at doing large document analysis, doing coding. If you're a grant writer, this is a great one for you. If you're the kind of person who gets all kinds of data from, I don't know, a lawyer or something else, and you've got to analyze it and summarize it, Claude is for you. It's really good at that sort of analytical, structured reasoning, whereas ChatGPT is a little bit more good at conceptual, right, or flexible thinking. So those two are great counterparts to each other. A lot of my team has both because they do have different strengths. Then you have Gemini. Gemini is the equivalent to Copilot, right? So if you are in a G Suite environment, where all your documents are inside G Suite, you're using Gmail for your email, Gemini is the way to go because Gemini, again, is going to be able to see everything in your environment and give you great answers and great analytics on your data inside your environment. The last one is the only one that I will ever recommend to you that is owned outside the United States. Canva is owned by an Australian company. And Canva is really, really awesome if you are in marketing. It creates amazing visuals. It's super easy to use. It's the kind of thing where you could take somebody who'd never done any kind of digital design before and give them this tool and be like, create me a new logo for the company, right? And they would be able to do it because it's very easy to use and focused on imagery, media, things like that. It is the best tool out for that. And again, it is Australian, which is the only time I will ever tell you to use an AI that is not owned by an American company. So what don't use? Well, first of all, don't ever use any foreign-owned AI platform ever, except Canva, which is owned in Australia. Because all of the AIs that are owned by other companies, there's a very good chance that it is going to be dangerous to you in some way. I have some of the names up there of ones you really want to look out for: DeepSeek, Moonshoot. These are dangerous, as well as any open source AI models. If you have anybody in your company or in your life who likes to tinker, there's a chance that they would be grabbing open source AI models and then trying to shape them to do what they want them to do. I would really encourage you not to do that because you don't know what that AI model is collecting on you. You don't know where it's storing it. You don't know where it's sending that information, right? So you want to be really careful that you're only using reputable AIs that are owned in America. Also, please remember that we don't have jurisdiction over those. For example, DeepSeek is owned by a company in China, which we're pretty sure is actually owned by the government, but it pretends to be its own company. And if something were to happen, of course, we have no jurisdiction to get your data. We have no jurisdiction to go after them for something that they did. Like, you are completely powerless in terms of anything that happens interacting with that software. In addition, if you have cyber insurance, there is a very good chance that if something happens to you or your company, if you are using a foreign-owned AI platform that they will not pay, right? So if they end up using their AI tool to get into your system, steal data, shut you down, generally speaking, it's kind of known that you shouldn't be using these foreign-owned tools, and they are likely to tell you that they're not going to pay if you weren't using a reputable American-owned AI. So please stay away from all of those. Kind of stick with the 5 that I recommended, if at all possible. If you do have another one you enjoy using and I didn't talk about it, send it over to us in an email and we'd be happy to let you know if we think it's a safe one or not. Okay. But the biggest AI risk isn't the tool you're using, right? It's your other team members who are using AI without telling you. And it's amazing how often I will talk to someone, they're like, well, no, I don't think my team is using AI. And then I go talk to the team and they're absolutely using it and using it for multiple things. People in your company are using AI, whether you know it or not. And so we need to be proactive about speaking to our teams about that, putting some guardrails in place, things like that. The most important thing is to make sure you have an AI usage policy in place. I will, by the way, send you PDFs of all these slides. So if you're like, oh my gosh, she's going too fast, I can't write some of this down, don't worry about it. I'll send you the slides. It is really important, first of all, when you write an AI policy that you are writing guardrails, not guidance. Almost every AI policy that one of you guys sent me for me to review for your company, it is guidance, right? It's not like, hey, this is what you have to do, and if you don't do it that way, you're going to be in trouble, right? It's more like, well, this is sort of how we use AI, and think about this. You got to put guardrails up. And so with an AI usage policy, you want to make sure that there's a list of approved AI tools, right? You cannot use it if it's not on this list, period, end of story, amen, right? You need to have somebody whose job it is to decide which ones are approved AI tools or not, right? And make sure that that person is designated. Everyone knows who it is. So if you're at a bigger organization, you don't have a manager of a particular department going, oh, well, I think we should use this one. And so that's okay for my team. Make sure you designate the person who gets to make that decision. Make sure you put in use cases, right? Like it's okay to do it if you're doing this. It's not okay to do it if you're doing that. Because use cases usually make a lot more sense to people and they remember stories or use cases better than they do rules. So make sure your AI policy has some use cases in there. Make sure you address data privacy and confidentiality rules, right? No client names in there, no client locations, no birthdays, no social security names, none of our intellectual property, right? So anything that you guys have built that you wouldn't want your competitors to get a hold of, none of that should be going into AI. I will tell a little story on Kelsey here, quick. We were trying to build a new program internally, something we were going to offer. And this was way at the beginning of when we first started using AI. And she was using an AI where the data wasn't kept confidential. And I'm like, oh no, like every other MSP out there, when they type into AI, what about this offering? They're going to get all our stuff, right? And I don't want that. I want Kelsey's work to be for me, not for everybody. So make sure you have those rules in place as to what you can and what you can't do. Make sure that you require human oversight. Again, AI hallucinates, it gets things wrong. Every single thing produced by AI needs to have a human read it with human intelligence to determine, does it sound correct? And also sometimes it puts really weird things in there. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but you read something written by AI and all of a sudden you get this sentence that either doesn't make sense or it is completely incongruous with everything else that's in there. So you need to require that humans do that. Somehow you need to put some verification and quality control requirements in place, whether that is, hey, Once a month, I'm going to pick a couple people and I'm going to go sit next to them and I'm going to say, open up your AI and show me the stuff you've been doing inside AI, right? Because frankly, the governance right now is a little tough unless you're paying for enterprise level tools. But you do need to do something so people know you're watching, right? Make sure you have transparency and disclosure guidelines. What I mean by that is make sure you tell your team, if you wrote this for a client and you used AI, you have to tell us, right? Whereas this thing over here, like if you used AI to write a quick email, I don't need to know that you used AI to do that. That's fine, right? But if you're doing these kind of important tasks and you used AI, I want you to disclose to me, to our company, that you used AI to do that. Not necessarily to the client, right? But you need to know that AI was used if it's something important. Make sure you have training and enforcement in place, especially with onboarding, because you're going to get new people who came from somewhere that had totally different AI rules, and they need to know what your rules are, right? So making sure that you're doing really clear training with brand new staff, but also it doesn't hurt every 6 months or so to go back through your policy, remind people what it is, right? And then incident reporting and response. Most of us have a cybersecurity reporting and response kind of guidelines for the team, right? If you get an email and you clicked on it, you need to immediately tell your supervisor and send a ticket to Pantheon, right? But a lot of us don't have those guidelines or response targets in place for AI, right? Okay, you accidentally, because you were copying and pasting and you didn't notice that the client's name was in paragraph 3 and you put it into your AI, what are you supposed to do? Right? So just give them something, right? Send a quick email to such and such person, explain what happened. Accidents happen, right? Most of them aren't going to be a big deal because they're going to be little slips, not like, hey, I just gave AI our entire, I don't know, HR folder or something. But you do need to have something in place for people to understand what they should do if they accidentally breach the policy, so that they know who to tell, right? Once you start using AI, you need to teach it about you, right? It doesn't know you. And unless it knows you, it cannot produce results that sound like you, right? What these are these pictures that 3 members of our team, Jill, my partner, Kelsey, right there in the middle, and then Voter, one of my techs, they went into AI and said, create a character based on everything you know about me, right? And then it created these. But it is important when you start using a new AI tool that you take a little bit of time, tell them what your role is in the company, tell them what kind of company it is, tell them your size, tell them your goals. Make sure that AI knows who you are so that it can give you results that make sense, right? It's going to give a totally different result to an accountant than it is to a veterinarian, right? But only if it knows that you're an accountant or a veterinarian. So that's one of my first tips is if you're going to use AI, make sure you take the time to teach it who you are and what you do. Then once it knows who you are, you need to learn how to prompt. Prompting is hard. I love my Lord of the Rings, so I had to throw this one in when I found it. I thought it was super funny. One does not simply use ChatGPT. It's not that easy, right? It can be. You can just type in your little question, but you're not going to get great results. And if you want really good results, you have to learn how to prompt. It is the new coding, right? Technicians who know how to code, and A+ isn't used anymore, but it might be one because it's been around forever. You need to learn how to prompt. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you tell the AI who it is for this particular question. You are my marketing expert. You are a client. You are, right? Tell it who your target audience is for what you're trying to create, so that it is going in the right direction. Give it as much context as you can, right? Hey, this is what we've tried before. This didn't really work out, but this kind of thing does work. I really don't want you to give me an answer that would require this tool. Give it as much context as you can so that it will give you the output that you want, right? Tell it what you want it to produce it as, your output format. So I used to have this problem where I would ask for something and all of a sudden it would give it to me in an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm like, no, I need a Word document that I can, use as a publication. That's not helpful to me. So make sure you tell it what you're looking for so it can produce it for you. Tell it if there's any constraints, right? I can't spend any money on this idea. You need to come up with a solution where $0 are spent, right? Or this can't take more than 20 hours, whatever you're working on, right? Make sure you tell it the constraints. Otherwise, you're going to get an answer, again, that is not what you want. Save successful prompts. When you find a prompt that works for you, and you think there's any possibility you will use it again, save it, right? Have a Word doc. Notepad would be better because Word puts some formatting in it. Sometimes it causes problems, but Word is fine. And save those prompts. So the next time you want to do that thing again, you don't have to figure out a prompt that's going to work again, right? Just have that prompt ready to go. Don't be afraid to use screenshots. If you say you're asking it a question about how to do something in Excel, AI loves screenshots. Take a screenshot of your spreadsheet, kind of circle what's wrong, give it to your AI. It can process that and it helps a lot. And then my final tip there is to start over frequently. Your AI gets confused. And so you need to start new chats constantly, right? Even in the middle of a project, you might get to the point where you've given so much input to your AI and together you've changed what you're doing multiple times. It will start to get confused because it'll look back at a prompt that you used early on and give that just as much weight as the one you just gave it. Right? And so you need to grab wherever you're at and grab that information, stick it into a new chat so that you're fresh and you're moving forward from that spot and the AI isn't looking backwards.
Did you bring the deposit over here? Okay, you can just set it on our desk there.
The other thing is just make sure that if you're asking it sort of just normal questions, that again, you start over with chat. Otherwise, you might be asking something about an HR question, and it's using the fact that you wanted a flyer for your kids' baseball team 2 weeks ago as part of its input, and it gives you like a cool flyer with the information instead of an HR policy, right? It does get confused, so make sure you start over very often. This one I thought was funny too. After I give ChatGPT the same prompt 20 different ways and it still does not understand what it is I want from it. This does happen. One of my recommendations is to ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using to write its own prompt. I know that sounds insane, right? But especially after you've done something that was successful, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, if I want to do this again with the same input and get this output, write me a prompt that I can give to you later that will make sure that you do it exactly correctly, right? So this one was written by my AI. It's like, hey, this is who you are. This is the source you need to use. This is how to format it. And so when I use this prompt, I get a consistent response, a consistent output every time because it's written really well because it wrote it for itself, right? So don't be afraid to ask your AI to help you write the perfect prompt. And then learn the features of your AI tool. I'm going to go through just a couple for ChatGPT here because that's the one I'm most familiar with. But there are YouTube channels and videos. There are all kinds of things out there to help you learn about whatever AI tool you are using. My first tip, if you do use ChatGPT, is make sure that you pick how you want it to think about your question. I get this wrong all the time, and it's very frustrating. So up in the left-hand corner where it says ChatGPT and there's that little caret, if you click that, it will give you this little menu where it's like, do you want an instant answer? Do you want me to think about your answer? Or do you want a pro-level answer? And depending on what you're asking it for, it makes a huge difference which one you pick. Sometimes I'm in pro, I'm asking it to do these really complicated things. I start a new chat and I ask a very simple question and it thinks for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, what? Oh, I forgot to switch it to instant, right? So it's like thinking way harder about this than it needs to. When you are using pro, don't be alarmed if it takes it an hour to do what you asked it to do. You're going to get a great result, but you need to be patient. You can also do multiple chats at the same time. Another one, add files. When you are asking it a question, one of the best things you can do is give it resources. So if you're trying to build a new HR policy, give it your entire handbook and be like, this is normally how we do things. This is our culture. Make sure that whatever you write is consistent with this, right? So the more sources you can give it, the better answer you will get. So make sure you click that little plus sign and then add photos, add files, anything you can give it. Use things like projects. Projects are really awesome in chat because what it does is it gives you the chance to sort of create a container around a group of chats and say, these all have to do with each other, right? So you can refer back and forth to these chats as I'm asking you questions. And here's a group of documents that I want you to use for every single chat that I do inside this project, right? And here's the identity you have inside this project, so I don't have to tell you every time I start a new chat who you are, right? So use things like projects and make sure that you take that time to give it a base that you want to build off over and over and over again. So you're not having to do that in individual chats. Make sure you know what some of the tool things do. In this one, when you create a project, if you don't click that gear, your project is going to be open to the internet. Maybe you want that. Maybe you want it to pull information from the internet. Most of the time when I'm doing a project, I don't. I want it to only deal with what I gave it. And so if you click that, you can tell it, nope, only things I've given you. Don't look at anything else, right? So make sure you know what those buttons do. They usually do something pretty helpful. The other awesome thing about projects is you can share them with your team. So if you create a project that does a really great job of analyzing divorce papers, if you're a lawyer, share it with your team. Now everybody can use your project. They can use your prompts, your resources, and they don't have to build their own. So that's another great thing about projects. Within ChatGPT, you can actually pick a GPT. So if you click on that GPT sign and then I put marketing in here, it will give you an already built identity, right? So it already is a marketing expert. It's already been given all this information about marketing. Right? And so then you don't have to do that. So go grab a GPT when you're going to ask a particular question. All right, whew, I got through it all. The next two webinars. The first one is going to be practical use cases. So now that we've kind of covered, here's how to use AI, kind of basics. The next one, I'm going to talk to you about things that we are doing and things that we've seen some of our clients do with AI that were extremely helpful, right? So we're going to walk through some practical use cases. And then the last one, we're going to do AEO-based marketing. So some of you maybe have heard of SEO, search engine optimization, making sure that Google will pull up your website when people use Google. That is basically obsolete. You now need to have online marketing that is accessible to AI agents. So that AI agents like it and bring up the answer. I'm sure you've noticed when you go into a browser now, it doesn't just give you a list of websites, it gives you the answer and tells you where it pulled the answer from. You want to be one of the things that it's pulling answers from. So we're going to talk about how to do that in June. In addition, I am going to do a Client Connect Live April 30th at 11 a.m. for an hour. We'll get you the link for this. So if you have tried to do any of this stuff and you have questions, just come and ask. There's no agenda, open hours. I will answer any question you have. All right. So what you can expect from us is a follow-up email from Kelsey. It's going to give you a PDF of today's slideshow. It's going to give you this guideline FAQs document that you can share with your team if you would like. We're going to give you the date, time, and link to that Client Connect Live so that you can join that if you have questions, and the invite to next month's webinar. So if you want to go through those practical use cases and learn how other companies are using it to their advantage, make sure you get signed up. Also share with your friends, anybody. You be a client, you don't need to be a client. If you think it'll be useful for someone, please go ahead and share that invite. And my final thing is, if you are not a client and you did not get a copy of the magazine, if you send an email to info@pantheoncomputers.com, we'd be happy to send you a copy. All right. It is now 11:30, which is when I told you I would be done. So I will stick around if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about anything, but otherwise, thank you for joining us for our very first webinar. Appreciate it